Hey, I'm on the edge of my seat here, back again with another brand new video, and today I will be no damaging all the boss fights in the 3D hack and slash classic Devil May Cry, and I will be doing it on the hardest difficulty, Dante Must Die. This is the hardest difficulty. You have to beat the game once to get hard. You have to beat hard to get this difficulty. Once you get this difficulty, what awaits you is enemies that deal more damage, have more health, and sometimes the enemies will just straight up be different. Like, the enemy placements with, like, you know, just normal enemies. Now, boss fights stay the same. I mean, no, the boss fights deal more damage, they have more health, but, you know, they stay the same. Like, this fire spider here isn't going to change into, like, an ice spider. I mean, that'd be kind of cool if this game had an ice spider, because I really like this, like, lava spider. I don't know if I'd find the ice spider or the fire spider cooler, but, like, I'm a big fan of, like, this design. It's just cool, though this guy isn't called Fire Spider. He's called Phantom because he's apparently a phantom, though I wouldn't have picked up on that, aside from, like, a few cheeky lines from Dante here. So the strategy I'm going to be doing for this guy is, so I'm using a New Game Plus weapon, per se. It's like a weapon you unlock near the end of the game when you first play it, but on, you know, repeat playthroughs on Hard or Dante Must Die, you just have it from the start. Now, you don't have to play this difficulty on New Game Plus, but it is highly recommended that you do, because you're going to want that, like, extra health bar and, like, these extra weapons. You know, like, you're going to want to have, like, the fire weapon available from the start, because sometimes, like, the ice enemies actually show up before you can get the fire weapon. Okay, I'm not 100% sure of that, but, like, there are some enemy types which, like, are better with some of the weapons you unlock later in the game, so it's good to have them, like, now. Oh wait, I didn't even explain the strategy I was doing in this guy. So, I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. So, you know, kind of get into position to, like, bait out that, like, you know, attack he does, where, like, he kind of tries to stab you with his pinchers. Are those called pinchers? Like spider claws? What are those called? Those have a name, but it's just it's eluding me at the moment. So pretty much, like, bait out an attack and then do a stinger attack. And if the stinger attack doesn't stun him, either do it again, or if he's about to do another attack, dodge that attack and then do the stinger attack. What we're trying to do is get a stun state. And when he's stunned, like, wait 1 or 2 seconds and then do a stinger attack again. This will either not stun him or it will stun him. If it doesn't stun him, dodge, jump back because he's going to do an attack. If he doesn't do an attack, well, you know, when you stab him and he just kind of stands still with, like, his lava turned off, that means that you can get, like, a combo in there. Though, during that time, I never got a combo in there, per se, because he never got, like, stunned like that. You know, he never, like, got tired like that. He just kept trying to attack me. And I think it was because I kept stunning him over and over and over again. And the strategy for this part is to abuse the iframes of the vortex mode. I mean, like, at first, I just kind of, like, double jumped every time he shot a fireball at me to avoid the fireball, and then I did, like, an attack. But once I lowered his health a certain amount, I go into vortex mode. And yeah, in this game, you need to buy your moves. So in your first playthrough, you're not going to have access to the vortex mode unless you, like, buy it first. And the vortex mode isn't that useful aside from very specific moments, but this is one of those very specific moments. And here we have the best boss fight in the game. Well, technically, this guy isn't the best boss fight in the game, but, like, you fight him a bunch more times. So when you're talking about these boss fights, this boss character is my favorite out of all the boss characters in the game. The spider is one of the boss characters. I mean, the phantom's one of the boss characters. And I'm assuming he's called Phantom because, I don't know, he doesn't have anything in that big body aside from, like, the lava he can conjure, because he's, like, a weird creature. And here we're going to start off with a fire weapon. We're going to do some inferno attacks. Like, you know, it's like the big ones where I, like, ground pound and I do... So the way you do those attacks is you have to, like, jump. You have to hold the stick in a certain direction. You know, like, you can't be... I don't know, the instructions to do that move are a little unclear in this game. But, like, the way you do it is pretty much you jump, you hold the stick forward, back. You know, you have to, like, hold it in a direction. You know, you can't, like, not be holding it in a direction. And you don't click it. It's not necessary to click the left stick to do that move. You just have to hold it in a direction when you do a jump. Because if you don't hold it in a direction when you do a jump, when you're in your double trigger state, you're instead going to do, like, the zip down move. I don't know what to call it, but it's like the move where, like, you jump and then you just zip into an enemy. Like, I'm going to do it later on in this video against a certain boss fight. But yeah, if you don't hold the stick in a certain direction, you're going to do that instead of the Inferno move. And then after I do the Inferno, I do a Fireball, because after you do the Inferno move, Virgil's going to teleport somewhere else. And when you're doing the Fireball, like, the Fireball just immediately directs itself to the enemy you want to shoot. Unless you're, like, in a group, then in that case, you know, like, the game's lock-on will decide which enemy the Fireball will go to. But if you're just fighting 1v1, the Fireball is always going to lock on to the guy, even if, like, you're aiming it behind you. And yeah, like I mean, that's just one thing. That's something which happened like in the first 10 seconds of like this fight. I haven't explained anything else I'm doing. Like that sword combo, I'm doing like 2 different sword combos. One of them is like like attack, pause, and then attack again. However, there's like 2 different pause combos, and yeah, this game has pause combos. You have like your regular combo chain by just pressing the attack button, and like yeah, this game has an attack button and it has like a gun button. That's pretty much how it works. And like you can do different moves based on like directional inputs and stuff, and also pause combos. So you can do a normal combo just by boom, 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 just pressing the attack button, or you can do a pause combo, like attack, pause for like a second, and then attack. But there's 2 different types of pause combo with the sword. You can like attack, pause, like a quick pause, and then attack, and then you'll do like a 5-hit combo. Or you could do like pause, wait longer, and then when you press the attack button again, you do the stabbing move. At least that's how I think the stabbing move works, because I don't know. After beating the game, that's how I did it. Like pretty much anytime I wanted to do just like the 5-hit combo instead of the stabbing move, I just do a shorter pause. But if I wanted to do the stabbing move, I do a longer pause. And yeah, I ended this fight by using the fire weapon. Also, another thing to know about the fire weapon. So the fire weapon has charge attacks, but that's not important right now. What's important right now is that you unlock a certain move which covers your entire body in fire when you do a jump. And that jump can actually parry certain attacks. In fact, I do it in this fight at the beginning and at the end. Okay, I'm not sure about the beginning, but I definitely did it near the end of this fight. I actually parried one of Virgil's sword attacks by doing a jump. Anyways, here you may notice that I'm taking damage, but this still counts as no damage because in this mission, this game has a mission-based structure. And in this mission-based structure, the entire objective of this mission is to take one item to a certain area. However, as long as you're holding that item, you take damage. So you're constantly taking damage throughout this mission. So it puts you like kind of on red alert. You have to like rush through the entire level so that you don't die, because you're constantly dying. However, as you can see there, I'm only taking gradual damage even when I'm abusing the iframes of Vortex to defeat the spider. So I never actually got hit by the spider. That's just the damage I was taking because the mission forces you to take damage. And here we have the final fight with Phantom. And Matthew Matosis. I want to shout out Matthew Matosis because he did a full run of this game where he got an S rank on every single mission, and he did commentary for that video, and he explained certain things. And I have to agree with him that when it comes to all the boss fights in this game, their final fights are always like the best versions of them. And one of the reasons that like these final fights are like the best versions of these boss fights is that they have the best arenas. Like this arena is the best for the spider. Like it's just cool, you got like the dawn setting, and it has like the best setup too. Okay, here I'm doing something really risky. So when you're using this weapon, like the New Game Plus weapon, I think it deals more damage, it has more reach, but you don't have access to your Devil Trigger, and you don't have access to a double jump. So with the lightning like sword, you can unlock a move called Air Hike, and with Air Hike you can do a double jump. However, with every other weapon in the game, you can't do that unless you're like jumping off a wall. So in order to avoid the boss fight attack when I was stuck in that little corner, I actually jumped off the wall for that double jump. And then I would do the stabbing motion to kind of stun the boss fight. And as you can see, whenever the boss fight kind of dies out, I did a combo there. You have to like really practice the boss fight and get a feel for their attack and their movements. And oh yeah, something which I did in the first fight, which I forgot to mention, is that once like the boss fight reaches like red, I stopped doing the stabbing thing because then the boss fight attacks way too fast to avoid it. Like I got extremely lucky to avoid that attack because once the boss fight reaches this like extreme speed mode, instead of like doing my stabbing technique, I instead try to jump on him and like do combos like that because he's just way too fast. So like once you reach that point, I stopped doing the stabbing. Anyways, so the reason it's the best arena for this fight, like why this arena is the best, like okay, I'm kind of mixing up my words, but the circular like design of this arena really fits this boss fight super well. And there's this thing that you can do where if you make the spider jump on like the glass 3 times, it actually breaks and this cutscene plays. So like there's not just one way to beat this fight, there's actually a second secret way. And that's why this is like the best version of this fight. The final fight, best arena, best gimmicks, best interplay between characters and all that. Anyways, look at this.
You're right. I'm his son, Dante. Sweet dreams.
So next up is the fight with Griffon, and on New Game Plus, hell, I'm not even sure if it's like exclusively to New Game Plus, and you could maybe even do this on New Game, but this fight, it could be entirely avoidable. Okay, actually I think it is like locked to New Game Plus, maybe. Because in order to like avoid this fight, you need the fire weapons to open the door. However, I guess on New Game, when you get the fire weapon and you like exit that place, the bird shows up. However, if you already have the fire weapons, you don't need to enter the place to get the fire weapons. So you can just open the door to the next level and completely avoid this fight. And that's what I did. And when I realized that that's what I did, I had to reload my save and redo like one of the previous missions just to get to this point. And it was really frustrating because the mission I had to redo was like super tough. So I was kind of miserable. And another reason it was miserable was because I hate this fight so much. And what's funny is I actually think that like the first fight you have with this Griffon here is the worst one of them all. And it's for a very, very specific reason. But like my strategy for that beginning part is just to completely assault him with like gunfire. And when you kind of stun Griffon, what I like to do is pretty much just go into fire mode and just throw fireballs at him. It just deals a ton of damage. It's very cool. And just throwing fireballs throughout the fight is very good. It's just that like this fight is just like the two worst things about this game. He's like projectile based and he's like platforming based. You know, like a lot of his attacks require you to like jump over them or like, I mean, like, it's not just jumping over them, you know, it's also, like, very specific, like, dodge timing, which is, like, I hate it. Like, I hate these electricity attacks he does. It's just miserable. Now, that one he did, I don't hate it so much. Like, whenever he throws, like, whenever he starts doing, like, the balls that kind of, like, close in on themselves with, like, lightning lines, I don't know how to describe it. Like, whenever he does this attack, I really like this attack because you can just kind of jump, shoot him a bit, and then, like, when that one appears, you can stop shooting to kind of drop to the ground. However, when he does the opposite, that attack I despise because there's like no time to like counter attack when he's like just throwing the lightning lines at you. It's just like fast paced. You have to like jump over each and every one, dodge each and every one. It's just like the timing's always weird. If you jump too high, then the next one's also going to be really high. So you can't just jump over every single all of them like, you know, willy nilly. You have to be kind of careful. It's just, and then there's this attack here. And look, my battery is low. So yeah, up to this point, I'm playing the Switch port of this game. And that's important to mention for visual reasons, because the ports of these games have different like visual inconsistencies per se. I mean, like it's not like so massive, but it is something worth mentioning. But yeah, whenever he goes into the sky, sometimes he'll shoot like an electric ball and that'll close in on itself. And then once that ball closes in on itself, then like different like lightning lines start coming in, phasing into the field. And you know, you have to kind of be careful. You have to kind of navigate in a way to avoid it. It's very, very frustrating. And here, there is a way to simultaneously switch between weapons without opening the menu when it comes to like switching between the lightning and the fire weapon. However, I don't do that here because it's faster to like go into the menu and switch between them in the game per se. I mean, yeah, it's like more seamless if you switch between them on the fly, but there's like a couple seconds of like delay compared to just immediately switching between them in the menu. And for this fight, I just have no respect for it. So like, yeah, it's a little less stylish, but like I hate this fight. And oh yeah, the reason I hate this fight. So it's annoying. Dodging all the electricity attacks sucks. But the worst part about this fight, and like it's the reason I'm not a fan of it and I prefer like the next couple fights, is because, okay, so one of the best ways to take this boss fight down is using the fire weapon. And you remember that attack where if you jump, you like can parry an enemy's attack? Well, if you jump, you can also damage the enemy. So whenever you jump and you're like covered in fire, and you have to like jump forward. It's not just like jumping straight up. You have to like jump forward into the enemy. That can deal damage. And against this bird, you can kind of just like jump on him a whole bunch of times. And like since the bird counts as a wall, like this game has a feature called like air hiking. And air hiking is if you jump and you're like on top of an enemy, then you can like press jump again to jump off that enemy. You can like infinitely jump and get some real serious air time. And like that feature gets even more insane in future entries. But it was here from the very beginning, and it was an intended piece of the game design. So it's not a glitch. It is real. But yeah, if you jump on the back of that bird, you actually get damaged because his back is electric. This is not true of his final fight though. So it's just weird because like the collision with that bird is so strange. You could do like a short hop, and like if the collision's weird, you'll like land on his back. So you can't jump high because you're gonna land on his back and get damaged, and you can't exactly jump low consistently because sometimes you will end up on his back. It's just an insanely frustrating thing, which isn't true about his final fight. Like, why make his back electric and damage you? It's like, that's such a stupid design decision. I just hate it. It's like, oh, maybe don't get on his back, but it's just like, it deals such little damage where, you know, if you weren't doing a no damage run, it wouldn't matter. You do it anyways. But since I'm doing no damage, that little bit of damage negates an entire strategy, which I can use in like this final fight. Just like, I just despise it. Anyways, here we're fighting Virgil again. He's not called Virgil in this game. He's called Nelo Angelo, and there's a whole lore reason for that. We'll get to that once I get to future games. But yeah, I'm using a bit of a different strategy here. I'm going to be using the sword the entire time. So let me explain what's going on with that sword. So, as you noticed, I have my rocket launcher equipped. And I do a thing with the rocket launcher where, you know, normally if you just shoot it, you'll kind of be stuck in this reload animation. Like, you know, like that, you know, it's very long, it's very cumbersome. But, you know, like the second you shoot it, if you okay, like the second you shoot it, if you dodge to the left or right, then you kind of just cancel out of that whole, like, cumbersome animation. And what I'm doing here is, I mean, I do this in the third or like last fight or like the fourth fight I have with him. Well, the fourth fight doesn't even count as a fourth fight, but pretty much what I do is I do a full combo from the front, and then I do like the rocket launcher thing, and he'll block, and when he blocks, I'll dodge to the side and quickly run to his backside and do a full combo there, and that's kind of the big combo I do on him, and then he disappears. And it's a combo I can do whether I'm in Devil's Trigger state or not in Devil Trigger state, though when I am in the Devil Trigger state, it is much easier to do it because you're a lot faster. So like the Devil Trigger state, if you've played Yakuza 6, do you know when like if your heat bar is like fully filled up and you can go into like a super mode? Well, Devil May Cry's version of that is exactly the same, except it's actually fun to use in this game, unlike in Yakuza 6. Because when you're in the Devil Trigger state, you run faster, you have all your same moves, but they deal more damage, and also your main combo is different. So instead of doing like that normal 3-hit combo that you do when you just press the attack button, you actually do the pause combo. You know, when you're not in the Devil Trigger state, you can do a pause combo. Well, that pause combo becomes your normal combo when you're in the Devil Trigger state, so you just get to have the better combo by just pressing the attack button normally. So that's very, very cool. And now I'm going to mention something about the fact that this game has a mission-based structure. So, if you die, you can maybe restart the mission like from a checkpoint if you have a yellow orb. And you can collect these yellow orbs and kind of like stockpile them. So, you know, if you don't want to repeat an entire mission just to fight one boss fight, stockpile these yellow orbs and they'll make your life easier. And let me elaborate on the yellow orbs later, because right now I need to explain what I just did there. How did I platform up this, like, you know, thin plank so easily? Well, it's because it's a very particular thing. So, I have it written down here. It's like when you're doing the second bird fight, the platforms you have to like jump on top of in order to like avoid some of his lightning attacks. You know, like you have to get all the way to the top here to avoid this lightning attack he's about to do right now. In order to like avoid that, you have to like jump on top of these platforms, and they don't have any collision underneath them. So like if you jump underneath the platform and you just jump straight through them. You know, it's not like Mario where like the block above you blocks you. No, the block above you is invisible. So you just go straight up it. So instead of like jumping onto it like in a directional manner, you have to like jump onto it just straight up. Don't move, just, you know, position yourself correctly and just jump straight up. Like, you know, boom, I'm positioned right, jump straight up. I'm positioned right, jump straight up. No movement. Don't move left, don't move right, don't move forward. You'll just end up falling unless you're like really, really skilled at the game. You know, just jump straight up and you'll quickly ascend. Because that's the thing, you have to be quick with it. You have to immediately get up here, shoot 2 fireballs, and then, you know, once you shot the 2 fireballs, you have to get out the pistol to build up that double trigger again. And then you have to jump straight down to bait this guy into doing the same pattern over and over again. Because if this bird starts doing a different pattern, then this fight's screwed. You kind of have to bait the bird to do this pattern over and over again. The pattern of, like, you know, doing his big super lightning attack, because you can avoid the lightning attack completely by just jumping straight up here. But if he doesn't consistently do this attack, then things get a lot more complicated. Like, there's that beginning section where he shoots like the red bird at you, and like the way you deal with the red bird is just by gunning it down. And whenever it tries to like get you, to like, you know, kind of capture you and carry you to the top, jump over it. And that's kind of how you deal with that. And you need to kill that red bird, because if you don't, then things get a lot more complicated, because once the red bird grabs you once, the second time it grabs you, it actually deals damage. And I hope what I'm saying makes sense, because like, I mean, for you Devil May Cry pros out there, like, this video is like rubbish. I mean, not like rubbish, but like, I mean, Devil May Cry was a series which I was kind of scared to do, because the level of skill which like the people who play Devil May Cry have is on a whole other level. Because, you know, me playing Yakuza, I mean these days a lot of people play Yakuza, but like back then there weren't that many no damage videos on Yakuza, so if you weren't like the most stylish, like, you know, it was okay. But with Devil May Cry, like, this series has always been stylish, so like if you're not doing the most stylish combos, then like, why are you making the video? But you know what? I'm gonna make the video even if there is like another video which has like way more stylish combos. That's the thing though. There aren't that many videos on Devil May Cry 1 which like do all the boss fights compiled into like one long video. There's one, and that video was very helpful for my video. Like, his strategies are very good here. I'm gonna mention the channel name because he deserves a shout out. So the channel name is Buffmeister, if that's how you pronounce it. Meister? Yeah, like Buffmeister. I think that's how you pronounce it. Like, if you type in like Devil May Cry 1, all bosses Dante must die, like, his video will pop up. His video is an hour, 21 minutes. His video is longer than mine because he does include all of the cutscenes. Now, me, I tend to cut the cutscenes into like little chunks. You know, I don't want to show the entire cutscene, and, you know, I kind of want to just show the thing that's kind of integral to the boss fight, or just the scene that I like. And yeah, for this boss fight, the final fight with the bird, when you jump on the bird's back, you don't take damage. So whenever this happens, in the first fight, you would have taken damage, but here you don't, and I am so glad for that change. It just makes the fight so much better. But yeah, my strategy, so in the first phase, I shoot 3 fireballs, and then I just kind of shoot them with my pistols, and that will knock them down to the ground for the second phase. And once we get to the second phase, what we do here is we jump a bunch of times to kind of stun the boss fight, and then we do the zippy move there. I mentioned the zippy move before, it comes back. And if I have Devil Trigger, you know, gauge, if I have like, you know, like my heat on, I can activate it, and then I'll spam Inferno moves to knock him down to the ground. And when I run out of Inferno moves to like knock him down to the ground, I jump a bunch of times to kind of take him out. And the only issues that may pop up is that sometimes like this bird will activate like his lightning round, and I got really lucky when he first activated his lightning round, because I just straight up avoided it. Because I don't know, like, I mean, I got behind his back and all the lightning he shot out. Because like, if you get too close to him when he's like doing his lightning round, he like ends it a lot quicker. You know, he'll just shoot out one final like lightning ball, and that ends it. And I just avoided all the lightning he was shooting. And here you have to wait a really long time to jump to avoid that attack, because you could take damage from the impact of him landing, not just the lightning. Remember that. Also, sometimes when he's like hopping around, you're like hopping back, hopping forward. Sometimes if the claws hop directly on top of you, you take damage from that. And like, I have taken damage from that, and it has been annoying. We have to watch out for that. Also, another thing to watch out for in this fight is that when you have like, you know, enough heat, you know, enough of a heat gauge, enough Devil Trigger, enough like symbols, whatever, you kind of want to, and you know, if you're waiting for this bird to get up, you know, like, you can do one Inferno and then wait to see if the bird hops back, or if the bird doesn't attack to make you go away. Because sometimes, like, if you're too close to the boss fight, he'll begin to flap his wings, and then that'll be like a big gust of wind to kind of knock you away from the boss fight. However, if you time it right, you can do an Inferno. See, that thing. If you time it right, you'll do an Inferno and like completely negate his knockback. So you're just still constantly attacking him. And whenever he's like knocked down to the ground, they changed it so he gets up a lot quicker. So you can't exactly spam fireballs as easily as before. So this time, I just do a normal combo to build up my heat gauge, and it works most of the time. I get enough, like, you know, heat gauge to do a couple nice Infernos, and then boom, the bird gets knocked down. That's like the entire strategy. Like, this is still a hard fight, but at least, you know, it's not like needlessly annoying with, you know, his back like damaging you. Like, you know, getting on top of the boss fight should be a reward, you know, because like a skilled player should be able to get on top of the boss fight and deal damage that way. That's not like a bad thing to do, you know, like, why punish a player for getting on top of the bird? That should be something which players should strive to do. So creating a punishment for something which is cool, I think just sucks, and it made the first fight, like, you know, I don't like it. While this fight is a lot better, and also this arena is so cool. You know, you have like these platforms you can get on top of, you know, on the bottom, like, you know, the rain, the effects and all that. And also, speaking of the effects, I should probably mention that like the Switch, PS4, and PC versions of the games, they're 1080p and all that, but they may technically be the worst looking versions of the game, because for some reason, moving on from like the PS2 version and the Xbox 360 version, some of the effects, the visual effects, are just gone. Like some of the blurring effects, some of the fire effects just aren't as pronounced as the original game. And the thing is, the Xbox 360 and PS3 HD collection still has these effects, mind you, not as strong as in the PS2 version, but the effects were still there. But once we get to this part in particular with the Switch, PS4, and PC, for some reason the effects are just gone, and it makes the game look slightly worse. You know, like a little bit too clean, like it wasn't the aesthetic. So that's why I wanted to mention the visual differences between the ports. I'm not a complete expert on it, but you know, look into that. There are some interesting videos like comparing the different versions. And originally, I wanted to do my video no damaging the original PS2 version of the game because, you know, I wanted those original visuals, and I do have a PS2. And I bought myself a copy of the game, and then I played it, and I realized that the controls suck ass. Like, the HD collection of Devil May Cry did something where they made the controls more standardized to fit the controls of future entries like 3, 4, and 5. But that's not how the game originally was. Originally, the controls for Devil May Cry 1 were kind of a nightmare. I mean, to be fair, it was the first game, so you probably get used to them. But now I'm way too used to how Devil May Cry 1 controls in the HD collection, so I could not go back. Like, the attack button on the HD collection and, like, you know, Devil May Cry 3 is like Y. Well, I mean, on Switch, it's not Y. Oh yeah, I'm playing this game on Switch, and I wanted to mention that at first I used like the normal Joy-Con controllers with like the attachment to make, which like with the attachment to make them like a more normal controller. But then at some point I switched out my controller for Nintendo Switch Pro controller. I got like the Animal Crossing one, which is like very green and has that white dog on it. Also, speaking of green, if you light up all the panels in the first Nightmare fight, which is the one I'm doing right now, though I'm not exactly in the Nightmare Arena right now, I'm in the Hell Arena, and I'll talk about the Hell Arena later. But in the Nightmare Arena, if you light up all the panels, you unlock an exclusive Kiwami filter for the fight. So for any fans of Kiwami 1 and 2, you know, be sure to light up those panels because you will need to in order to beat the boss, and you unlock a reference to Yakuza Kiwami and Yakuza Kiwami 2. And for this Hell Dimension, the way I defeated those skulls in the beginning is very messy. In fact, this attempt is messy. I actually did not think I would no damage this boss fight with this attempt, but I did. So I ended up doing it. So yeah, fighting the spider is the exact same way, but keep in mind that once you defeat all the skulls, the spider, you know, it's kind of like a shadowy, like shrouded in shadow model. But once you defeat all the spiders, those shadows goes away and this thing becomes alive. And you want to track down where this spider is immediately, because this spider might accidentally like start shooting projectiles at you from across the map and you won't even know where they are. But, you know, the spider doesn't have that much health because, you know, it's kind of like a boss fight, which like this boss fight, Nightmare, throws at you. And it has less health, it's easier to take down as long as, you know, you're aware of where it is. And boom, we're going to deal a nice chunk of damage to Nightmare, and there we go. Ain't that nice? So Nightmare. This is the worst fight with him, and it's all thanks to this arena. And this arena just sucks. I mean, this is the first time you fight the spider, and like it's not the worst thing with the spider, but it isn't advantageous to the spider either. And it sucks for Nightmare because, you know, like you have to like constantly like route this boss fight in a circle because, you know, you have to constantly avoid those projectiles. So you have to like kind of shoot at them while constantly walking left. Don't ever walk right. And yeah, there's like this boss fight is manipulatable, but it's a pain in the ass. And this arena does it no favors, especially when you need to like relight the panels because like the panels are like across the entire room. Like, I mean, the next two fights you have of this boss fight are such a massive improvement. This is like the worst one with them. I mean, yeah, he doesn't even have all the attacks which he would have in the future fights, but it's just this arena just brings it down. But speaking of his attacks, let's probably explain what his attacks are. Actually, I'm not going to do that, Lo. I'm actually going to explain something else entirely. So, I have it here. Wait a minute. So, yeah. When I'm doing this video, sometimes I'll no damage a boss fight, but that isn't the attempt that's like, you know, in my save file per se. Like if I used up all my yellow orbs to record one no damage, I'll just reset the mission and do it again normally to save my yellow orbs for like the next encounters. And this is true of Nightmare. That's why his orb is going to be inconsistent between my recorded fights, because in this one I'm actually going to break his orb and make it green, but in the next fight his orb is still going to be blue. See, that's the thing. This boss fight, you fight him 3 times and he has this gimmick where if you break his orb, he becomes a harder fight. So in order to not break his orb, what you want to do is, you know, use this fire weapon and only do charge attacks. So, you know, you're not hitting him that many times, but you're still doing big damage. If you do stuff like that, you break his orb, and you want to avoid that. You want to avoid his orb being red in the final fight, because it's just going to make it harder to defeat him. So that's something you got to keep in mind. And what I just did there is he has this attack where he tries to stab you with like some weird knife contraption he has, and if you like parry that knife attack, it leaves him open to be attacked. But if you don't parry him, then he just stabs you 3 times. He tries to stab you 3 times, and then like the orb goes away. But if you parry that attack, then you're good. And that's where like my jumping thing becomes useful once again. Yeah, if you jump at the exact right moment with the fire weapon, then you can parry that attack, and it's just very nice. It gives him nice damage. But yeah, keep that in mind, because the orbs are going to be blue in my second Nightmare fight. I'll go more into detail about Nightmare specific attacks and how to deal with him, and just deal with Nightmare in general, because he does stay somewhat the same. It's just that his future fights get future moves and all that. And here we have the final fight with Virgil, and what a fight. What a fight it is. Yeah, this is the best arena for him, though the design of it can be complicated, because sometimes you get stuck into like a little corner like that door over there, and the fight can get really hectic there. And sometimes you can get stuck on the stairs, but honestly I kind of like that tension and like awkwardness. You know, it just kind of makes things like more stressful. And Virgil has new attacks, and I think he deals more damage in this one. Not like damage matters much, because I'm going to be doing no damage. So the way I deal with him is I run straight at him with my double trigger, and I do a full combo, boom, attack, dodge, go to the backside, and then just kind of keep doing that. And oh yeah, I've been doing this throughout all my Virgil fights, but the way I kind of avoid his attacks is just by jumping. Because you can like dodge, but sometimes his arcs are so wide that like you'll dodge and he'll still like hit you from like the side. So jumping is a little more consistent, because like your jump has iframes just like a dodge, and that's the thing. Like Devil May Cry 1 has a weird dodge. First off, in order to dodge, you have to be locked on to the enemy. So you lock on, and then you have to press the jump button either left or right, and that's how you do the dodge roll. But if you press the jump button forward or back, you just do a normal jump, which is like, oh, screwing up and doing a jump instead of a dodge would screw you over. But the jump does have some iframes, so the jump itself can operate like a dodge. And here's the big new attack which Virgil has, which kind of switches up the whole dynamic of the fight. He'll just go, he'll float up, and then he'll start shooting his like crystal swords at you. And the way I like to deal with it is by abusing vortex iframes. But in order to abuse vortex iframes, you need to constantly have Devil Trigger on you. So the way I'm like going to use Devil Trigger in this fight is going to be a little bit more conservative. I'm still going to use it because, you know, you deal a lot more damage with your combos when you're in Devil Trigger, but I'm going to build it up a lot more before I pop it out, just so that I can have a little bit left in order to deal with his attacks and just kind of do the vortex. Because when I do the vortex, I have to wait for all those swords to fall, and sometimes, you know, he has different sword formations. Some of them fall really quickly and some of them take a while, so some of those attacks mean I don't spend that much Devil Trigger on it, and other attacks means that I spend quite a bit of Devil Trigger on it. So it gets real intense. And his health, he has so much health. And it's a great fight. It's such a dope fight. You know, he finally takes off his helmet. You know, it's a twist. He's his brother. Like, oh my goodness. Yeah, see, there's something you want to watch out for when you're climbing down these stairs. I mean, I showed it in like my little video where I say that I like Nelo Angelo or Nero Angelo, because apparently Nelo is actually a mistranslation. Like, I mean, of the game, or like just it ain't right. Like, it's better if it's Nero Angelo, because Nero Angelo means Dark Knight, but Nelo, that doesn't mean anything apparently. I'm not the expert on that, but like Nero's like the better title for that. But I think he still is called Nelo Angelo in like Devil May Cry 5, so like I don't even know. I have to play Devil May Cry 5. I've only played and beaten Devil May Cry 1 and 3. So like my knowledge on that is sketchy. I played the first 1 or 2 hours of 4, and then like I haven't picked it up since. Not because it was bad. I just, you know, so it happens with games. You know, you try it out for a bit, you like it, and then you forget about it. So I'll be heading back to 4 at some point. But yeah, just it's a great climactic fight. This is the best boss fight in the game. Remember when I said this is the best boss in the game, but not really? Well, now this is the best boss in the game by far, I think. Like, I mean, it's like the same boss character as the one I claimed before, but like this time it's just dope. And here I'm going to get my Devil Trigger and just... It's just so nice. Like, I mean, there's plenty of ways to knock him out of the sky. In fact, one fun way to knock him out of like his floating stance is to equip the fire weapon and do a jump. If your jump iframe, you know, if your jump attack like hits him while he's in the air, he gets sent down. So if you time that well, then, you know, it's real nice. You know, you can like avoid all this, but you have to be really quick on the draw in order to make him like not summon those swords. And also like the camera doesn't help. That's like one of the biggest flaws of this game is its camera. So you can't control it. It's fixed, and it can get real nasty at points. Like, you know, like that Phantom says, like that's like one reason that like little chapel area sucks. The camera is just miserable there. It gets stuck on collision here and there. The boss fight can be blocked from your view. Just no good. Like the more circular arenas like really are such an improvement because the camera can handle those a little bit better, though it still gets stuck on things every now and then, especially when like you're trying to stick like especially when you're trying to like move to the left all the time and the camera switches, so now you moving left actually moves you down. You know, it can get tricky like that. And now we're gonna be fighting Nightmare. And one thing I want to mention about this Nightmare fight is that, okay, so you can fight him by like lighting up these panels, and if you never get sucked into the Hell Dimension, whenever you light up these panels, Nightmare will do like 1 or 2 attacks and then like become a gloop, and then you have to like light up the panel again. But if you get sucked into the Hell Realm and then you come back, whenever you light up those panels, Nightmare instead does like 6 or 8 attacks before the panel, you know, like shuts off. So if you never go into the Hell Realm, then you're gonna have to consistently light up these panels. You have to be really quick on the draw, because whenever Nightmare's like in his gloop phase and not like in his robot phase, he's gonna start summoning like these weird gloop creatures which like turn into ice and damage you, and like they're annoying to deal with, especially when you're trying to light up the panels, especially when they come out really quickly and you want to light up that panel, but while you're lighting up that panel they try to do the ice attack, so you just it gets tough. So you know, you got to be aware of that. And the reason I'm going to make the conscious choice not to get sucked into the Hell Realm in this fight is because in this version of the fight, you know, in the second fight, when you get sucked into the Hell Realm, you have to fight the bird. But you fight the first version of the bird, you know, the one where you jump on his back and lightning damages you. So I don't want to deal with that. I'd much rather just fight this boss straight ahead. So yeah, I wanted to explain the attack pattern this boss fight has, but I don't know. I mean, you know, there's like his gloop phase where he summons these little ice people, and you can kind of like defeat them by doing the jump attack or like shooting them a whole bunch, just waiting for them to kill themselves. So then there's the stabbing one. I've explained the stabbing attack before, and you can counter that one. But then there's like when he isn't revealing his orb. When he's not revealing his orb, he's constantly shooting you with tiny projectiles or like these tiny metal balls. And the way you deal with that attack, it happens every time he's done with an attack. It happens every time he's about to do like an attack with his orb. So, and it happens whenever like you activate the thing. So whenever you activate the thing, you can kind of run in a straight direction to avoid those little projectiles, or you could you know, shoot them and like consistently move left, and you know, while shooting them you actually get devil triggered, because you can actually like attack those little metal orbs and they can turn red and all that, and it's very cool. And that attack the boss fight just did there, it's a new attack for the second fight. You know, like you saw that big ass knife it summoned. I don't know whether to call it a knife or a blade, but it's something like a big-ass blade. And the way you deal with that attack is before jumping on its back, you have to parry that blade, and the fire weapon is super useful for that. So the way you parry that blade is just by like jumping at it at the right time, and then you parry its attack, and then it gets stunned for like the rest of that, like, you know, orb duration. And that attack right there, let's talk about this attack instead. So whenever like you see the little white laser thing coming out, he's gonna shoot a big laser. So you wait for the ball to like stop shooting its like multiple lasers, because like sometimes like the orb itself will be shooting out its own lasers, you know, like these little white lines. Wait for those white lines to disappear, and when, you know, for like the big robot thing to shoot its massive laser, and then you jump on its back and start like hammering away at that orb. And here we're at the final Nightmare fight, and I'd say this is the best Nightmare fight because it's the coolest arena. This arena, look how dope this arena looks. Like, this is such a sick-ass looking PS2 game. Even when a lot of its effects are removed with like this HD remaster, it still looks dope. Like, look at that. Look at the colors, the red, the light blues, like the grays, the hellscape. It's awesome, man. I love this arena style so much, and it's a circular arena. My only issue is that sometimes a piece of the terrain can like stop you from like moving forward, so sometimes I've gotten clipped because I would get stuck on a piece of the terrain, you know, some of these like little spiky parts. And this time I will let myself get sucked into the Hell Dimension, because in this Hell Dimension you fight Virgil, and Virgil is easy-ish. I mean, I feel natural fighting him. Like, the reason I don't like fighting the bird is because I don't feel natural. I feel like I'll just get clipped by something stupid. But with Virgil, it feels like a fair fight. You know, I'm in sync with the Virgil fight. But one difference you have to keep in mind is that before, every time you would get sucked into the Hell Realm, the boss fight would be on the ground in like a shrouded in shadow state. But Virgil here, he isn't on the battlefield until you defeat all the skulls. Once you defeat all the skulls, he drops in from the battle bus, and then and only then is he on the field. So he isn't on the field until he drops off from the battle bus, and then you have to like be careful where he drops off from. Like, I don't know, this is a problem with the camera, you know, like, because you can't really move the camera to see where he's going to drop down from, because sometimes the camera will be situated in a way where he'll drop right in front of me, or sometimes he'll drop right behind me, and it just, you got to be careful, you know, kind of like lock onto him, and the camera kind of like navigates its way towards like figuring out where he is. And yeah, there's like some attack patterns which Virgil has, which I could probably explain in greater detail, but I don't know, it's kind of hard. You can kind of jump through most attacks, but sometimes there'll be like certain long attacks that you'll want to double jump from, and sometimes you might just get caught in a bad position, and like no matter what jump you do, if you jump at a bad time, you'll just get screwed. You know, just kind of, you gotta fight him, deal with him, you know, kind of figure out his pattern. And now we're gonna head back to the fight. And also, I uploaded a video exposing this, but if you enter the hell dimension when he has like red health, it deals like no damage to him. So it's best to just enter the hell dimension at the very beginning of the fight, because like it deals the most damage in the fight. Yeah. So this final nightmare fight has a new phase at the very end of the fight, and during that phase, if you never get sucked to the hell dimension and then reach that phase, the boss fight will still do like that attack where like it summons like a wave of gloop to swallow you. But if you've never been sent to the hell dimension and you get to that final phase, it still won't send you to the hell dimension, because once you reach like that final phase of this fight, it is impossible to go to hell. And that is very disappointing, because I wish I could have skipped that phase by just going to hell and fighting Virgil, because I much prefer fighting Virgil than whatever the hell that final phase is. And yeah, I want this boss fight to do certain attacks, so I can kind of explain it. Yeah, some of the attacks in this final fight are a little bit different. With this laser, he starts going a little crazy, he starts moving around, so you know, watch out for that. And sometimes when you have to like relight the panel, he'll just quickly do like another attack while you're trying to do that. And the hitboxes with those like stabby knives can be very inconsistent. Oh yeah, one very important thing is you can kind of manipulate what attack Nightmare will do by just the positioning of where you are. So if you're kind of like right in front of him, he'll most likely do the big laser attack. If you're right behind him, he'll do an attack I haven't explained how to deal with yet. If you're kind of in the middle with him, you know, like he'll mostly do the big laser attack. Like, I mean, Nightmare does like to cycle between his attacks, so he's not always going to do the same attack over and over again. You know, like, if you stay right in front of Nightmare, he'll probably do the laser, or he'll probably do that attack where he summons, like, a massive blade to kill you. You know, like the one that spins around. But in between those attacks, you know, because those are, like, the two attacks he'll do if you're right in front of him, but in between those attacks, he'll do the one attack where, like, he kind of flips onto his side and, like, does the 3 stabby thing. So he'll just kind of rotate between those 3 attacks. You can kind of manipulate the boss fight into doing just those 2 attacks if you really just want him to have, if you really just want to expose that specific orb. But if you run all the way to like his backside here, well, he hasn't done it yet. He decided to do that big stabby attack. But I want to show off. Oh, I'm not going to be able to show it off. So pretty much what happens is, okay, so once you defeat like the full health bar, he gets like a bit more health, and I'm just going to completely cheese this phase by using an invincibility item to kill him, because I cannot deal with his final phase. It kills me, but I'm just going to use the item to like deal with it, because boom, bam, pow, we're just going to destroy him like that, and that'll be that. Because like, there is a way to like no damage his part, but it's just such hell. He's constantly shooting lasers, you know, the little ice gremlin slug things are constantly trying to kill you. Just, it's a complete nightmare of a phase, and I can't stand it. So yeah, the attack I didn't explain is if you kind of get to like his backside, he'll expose the orb. The orb will shoot some lasers, so like, you know, keep some distance from the orb so that those white lasers don't hit you. And then after he's done shooting the white lasers, he's gonna summon like these black-white ice attacks. But once he's like about to summon those white ice attacks and he's not doing the white lasers, run in and start hitting the orb. And if you run in at the exact right time, those like black ice laser, no, like those like black ice white attacks won't hit you. They'll kind of like orbit around you, but you have to do it at the exact right moment or it's gonna clip you. So yeah, anyways, here, look at this.
Dante! Dante, why did you save my life?
Because you look like my mother. Now get out of my sight. The next time we meet, it won't be like this.
Dante!
Don't come any closer, you devil! You may look like my mother, but you're nowhere close to her. You have no soul. You have the face, but you'll never have her fire!
Dante's like voice switch up is so good in that scene, you know, like, I mean, this game's voice acting is like really cheesy, but it has its moments, you know, like just Dante being all calm and suddenly like, don't come any closer, you devil! Like just, ooh, it's so good, man. Like, that's probably like the best scene in the game, though. I mean, the rest of the scenes, you know, they got, the voice acting can range very heavily in quality. There is one scene, and this one scene has the worst voice acting in the game, though it's at the very end. So I'll tell you what scene it is when we get there. So yeah, we're fighting Mundus, and Mundus, if that's how you pronounce it, I was about to get a hiccup there. Has two phases to his fight. This is the first phase, and it's just kind of like a, I forgot the name of this. What is this called? Is this like a Star Fox thing? Is this like a rail shooter? I don't know. It's not a rail shooter, is it? A shoot 'em up? It's like Star Fox. We're gonna call it a Star Fox. I forgot what genre of game Star Fox 64 is, and I still need to play Star Fox 64. I'll just say that. Is the 3DS version of that game the best version? Because I could get that. But yeah. He has a bunch of attacks, and sometimes you'll combine these attacks into a bunch of attacks, and it becomes kind of a mess to keep track of everything. But this isn't so hard. It's actually pretty easy for these kind of things. Pretty much most of the attacks you can kind of avoid by just kind of going in a circle, you know, kind of a big circle. You know, like, I mean, just kind of guide the lasers towards one corner, and then you can kind of go up and avoid the lasers that way. And then there's some other attacks. The rocks can be a little tricky. The fireballs he throws down on you is kind of hard to keep track of, and it's just a lot of visual clutter. But those fireballs can kind of be dealt with the same way we deal with these lasers, just kind of going around in a circle, just going left to right. Their lightning thing, that was weird. Lightning kind of have to go like left and right. Oh yeah, here, if you tackle the enemy, you have like this tackle move. It's pretty much the vortex move you do by pressing the attack button. If you hit him at the exact right time, when he's transitioning, you deal a ton of damage. Definitely do it. And also, when your devil trigger is like completely 100% filled, you deal the most damage when you send out that dragon. And I don't think I no damage this dude the most optimal way possible, but I did no damage him. It just takes an extremely long time, which you probably don't need to take that long. There's probably a much better, quicker way to like use the devil trigger and like take this guy out. But yeah, you have to like defeat these. You have to kind of break the balls first, and then you're able to damage him. So you know you kind of have to like swing around, you know, throw some symbols the balls ways. And sometimes he does this big thing where he does like a big dramatic motion and starts charging up his super laser, and I don't even try to dodge the super laser. I instead take advantage of the iframes the vortex move gives me. Okay, so you can do the vortex move, but unlike in normal gameplay, you can't do it forever. You only do it for like 2 to 3 seconds, so you have to actually time it in order to like dodge attacks with your lovely iframes. So it does kind of serve as like a dodge with iframes, and it's cool. But you can't use it forever because you can just spam it as long as you want, which you can't do here. So there isn't really that much to talk about besides, you know, like you can tackle this guy, you can avoid his attacks. I mean, like what you see is what you get. So I'm going to start talking about some other things. So I don't like how when you die, you're kind of forced to take a yellow orb. You know, if you have a yellow orb, you just take into that menu. You say, you know, take a yellow orb, and you only have the option to say yes. So you press a button and you take one. Because pretty much what happens is I want an option to like decline to take one and just die so that I can like restart quicker. Because like the way it is now, I take the yellow orb, I reset the game, and it's like that is just way too many steps because I'm trying to save those yellow orbs strictly for the boss fight, so I can just keep retrying the boss fights over and over and over. You know, because like this no damage stuff, it gets complicated. You know, you get clipped once, but you still could like defeat the boss fight. It doesn't matter. You got clipped. You got to do the whole thing over again. So I'd much rather, you know, not deal with these complications when I'm doing like the normal levels and stuff. But thankfully you get so many yellow orbs on like when you're doing like your hard run of Devil May Cry. You know, like you beat the game on normal and then you play it on hard, and you get so many yellow orbs because all the blue orbs which you've already collected in the game become yellow orbs. So the location of the blue orbs is still valuable because if you go there, you'll pick up another yellow orb. You can just build up so many of them so quickly. Like throughout my entire run on Dante Must Die, I pretty much had like in between 15 to 19 yellow orbs at all times until like the ending of the game where I used up all of them to like kill Mundus here. But like it doesn't even matter, you know. Like I mean, I was stacked with the yellow orbs. And I'm glad I was stacked because if I wasn't stacked, I would be very sad. This video would have taken a much longer time to release. Also, I just want to talk about shotgun air hiking. You may see it in the next fight, and it is an incredibly fun thing to do. So this game has air hiking. Air hiking is the air hike is the move where you like double jump with like the lightning sword. But when I say shotgun air hiking, I mean when you like you pretty much like launch an enemy into the air, you shoot them with a shotgun, you jump off of them, you shoot them with a shotgun, you jump off of them, and every time you shoot them with a shotgun, it kind of sends them up a little bit, so you can just keep them in the air infinitely. To be fair, it depends on what enemy. Shotgun air hiking is super fun to do against the enemy called the fetishes, which is like these weird ass like wooden fire enemies. But yeah, like shotgun air hiking those guys is insanely fun. Like it kills them like very quickly. It's like super tense, and I love it. It's just a really fun thing to do. It's just that the shotgun doesn't send every single enemy like upwards, so like it won't work on every single enemy. But for that enemy in particular, it is an incredible way to get rid of them efficiently. And that is true because I forgot to mention another thing Dante Must Die adds to this game, and it gives enemies their own devil trigger. And pretty much if you don't kill the enemies in a room quick enough, they activate their own devil trigger and pretty much get complete super armor and a ton more health. Unless you go into your own devil trigger state. So if you try to like take out an enemy like without like your devil trigger turned on, they just have complete super armor, or they just straight up don't get damaged. I don't even know. It's like insane. They have so much health once they enter their devil trigger state. So it's just like, and sometimes in certain combat scenarios they actually add a timer. So you have like that timer reminding you to kill these guys very, very quickly before they become super guys. So, you know, it's just crazy. It makes these puppets and like these fetishes like way harder than you'd expect, and also every other enemy in the game, including the skulls. You know, like those skulls that show up in like the Hell Realm when you're fighting Nightmare? Do you know how the big skull has like specific like color markings on him, kind of like a tattoo of sorts on his skull, like an engraving? Well, if you let the tiny skulls go into Devil Trigger, they get the exact same engravings on them when they enter their Devil Trigger state, and I think that's super cool. That's a super cool design detail. Just wanted to put that out there. Yeah, I don't know. Those are all the things I wanted to mention. But wait, there is one more thing I want to mention in case I don't have enough time to mention it later. And it's like, it's in the second phase of Mundus. So I beat the second phase of Mundus like normally just to, you know, save up my yellow orbs for like the next mission. And then the game crashed. You know, like I saved and then the game crashed immediately after I saved, and like I'm very happy that happened in particular, because if the game crashed before I would save, I would be so mad, because like I kind of wasted a no damage attempt just so I could have like a normal save file of the next mission with like the next boss fight with a lot more yellow orbs. And to be fair, my dedication towards doing this is kind of pointless, because once I no damage this guy and I only had 3 yellow orbs, I actually saved over my save with like the 15 yellow orbs for the final mission. So I just, all that for nothing, you know, like I screwed myself in the end. Anyways, we are about to enter the second phase of Mundus, and with this second phase comes a change in video content. Instead of taking no damage, I'm going to take all the damage. This is a first for the channel. This is a first for the I am on the edge of my seat experience. I will be taking all the damage, every single damage. And I kind of wish I could say that the only thing that's like damaging me is the lava, but I just got clipped by one of those like laser balls. So yeah, I kind of hate this fight because I don't. It's like a good fight, but also I just hate it. It's obnoxious to no damage. It's just obnoxious to win in general. I hate this dude's like laser balls that he just summons out of nowhere. You have to do like a bit of platforming to like get to certain places. You know, you could jump on the platforms and like kind of combo him a bit, but you know, you have to platform on that, and he can destroy the platforms. You can summon the fire dragon. Just like it's so much. I just don't have fun with it. So like the way you would typically no damage this guy for real is you would either do like a long range game by like, you know, sending like a devil triggered round trip and shooting fireballs at him, or you would try to like get in up close and get in a couple like sword swipes here and there. But here I've discovered that even though the lava damages you, it can't kill you. So you could just jump in the lava and take all the damage you want. And here I'm just playing a completely different game, and I just find it a lot more fun. I hope y'all can accept me technically not doing no damage just to deliver a more exciting fight, because man, I can't stand this fight normally. And something which I want to do when I'm fighting this guy is if he summons like the laser balls like above him, then that's good, because if like there's like 4 or 5 laser balls like directly above him. When I'm talking about like the laser balls, I'm talking about like the balls that like shoot out like tiny thin white lasers, not like the big lasers. Well, I mean, those aren't even lasers, those are like big white fireballs. When he sends out the laser balls and there's like 4 or 5 right above him, that's okay, because if you're right in front of him in the lava pit, those lasers will never touch you. However, if he summons the laser balls that like spawn in, you know, one at a time, like, you know, they're like close to you, those laser balls, you kind of have to run around Mundus instead, because those ones actually can get you, and they did get me once in this video. That's kind of like the big time. Like if you look at my footage, there's one time when in my health bar where I take a massive chunk of damage, and that's because the laser got me. And then from there, what I want to happen is I want him to summon the fire dragon, because when he summons the fire dragon, there's a huge period of time where he will do nothing. And here I've activated, you know, the untouchable item, because once he reaches red health, he has a habit of summoning his final attack, the massive fireballs. And even with my strategy here, I would not be able to like dodge the massive fireballs, or maybe I could. You know, maybe I may or may not revisit this game in the future, and when I do, I may or may not redo this fight in a more cool way, per se. Well, stay tuned. It may happen, it may not happen. You know, the future is uncertain. Anyways, check out this iconic piece of camp.
My mother risked her life for me, and now you too. I should have saved you. I should have been the one to fill your dark soul with light!
This was my mother's. Now I'm giving it to you.
That voice crack is the camp of legends, I tell you. But I gotta say, I really love the music in that scene, though. It's a really great, sad piece. Just the music in this game overall is awesome. It got so many like kick-ass tracks. Like, it's got guitars which like kick in, they kind of soften. You know, like the bass kicks in. Just it has a great variety of tracks. Like, you know, the Nightmare track is dope. The Griffon track is heavy. I forget how I feel about the Phantom track, and it's kind of got a nice build up. And you know, we got the epic choir here, and then like the electronics start coming in. Just Devil May Cry 1 has a just brilliant soundtrack. It's a real fantastic soundtrack. It's got the nice gothic vibes. It's got the nice electronic vibes. You know, badass horror choir. Yeah, like listen to that. It's like I hope this is like an OST I can listen to on my own. Wait, no, there's like one OST that I really want to listen to. That's in one of the cutscenes. and it happens later. I won't say which one it is, but yeah, this boss fight, it's really simple. Just need to build up your double trigger and then abuse the iframe's vortex. So yeah, that technique comes back in a pretty useful way. And yeah, there's really not much more to me to say. Like, the video's practically done. I mean, this boss fight, you can screw it up. I don't know, dodging that green laser he shoots out every now and then can be kind of tough. And I've never talked about taunting, and to be fair, I didn't really do it much. Something I should mention is in that second phase of the Mundus fight, instead of taunting, I just blast him with the shotgun. And there's another technique you can do with the shotgun. If you move left and right while shooting the shotgun, instead of doing that big reload animation, you skip it and just shoot again. It's kind of finicky, but it works. And yeah, there's something else I wanted to mention. Yeah, my history with these games. I first got the Devil May Cry HD collection on Xbox 360. I started with 3, but then I got stuck on a certain part, and I went back to play Devil May Cry 1. I beat it, and then I came back to 3, and I was able to solve that puzzle. And oh yeah, I think the track I really like is when Trish comes in. And yeah, that's her name. I don't know if she ever says her name in this game. I think she does. Yeah, like when the guitars kick in and it's kind of got like a rocking guitar to it. I really love that. I hope that music is somewhere in like the official soundtrack or whatever. But yeah, I beat Devil May Cry 1. I beat Devil May Cry 3. I think I tried to do the extra difficulties of Devil May Cry 3 on the Xbox 360. Like, I beat normal, I beat hard. And then I tried to do Dante Must Die without doing very hard, and I was not able to do it, so I gave up. And then at one point, I really wanted to sell my Xbox 360, but I never was able to. And yeah, for here, you need to build up your double trigger. So instead of just building it up by, like, shooting him, you build it up by taunting. So, yeah. And so I sold my Xbox 360 copy of Devil May Cry HD collection. I couldn't sell my Xbox 360, just wasn't able to. And then I bought a PS4 copy of the Devil May Cry HD collection, and I beat Devil May Cry 1 on normal and hard, but I wasn't able to do Dante Must Die. And then I sold my PS4 copy again for some reason, so I don't have my PS4 copy of Devil May Cry, like the HD collection. And now I got it on PC, but I didn't play the PC version for this video. I played the Switch version. I bought it for Switch again, but I didn't buy an HD collection for Switch. I bought, like, Devil May Cry 1 and 3, not 2. I'm not gonna play 2. So why did I buy the Switch version if I had the PC version? Well, because when I was doing this video, I was in the process of moving, and I just wanted to progress in Devil May Cry while I was on the plane. I really, really wanted to play some Devil May Cry on the plane, and my laptop is just killing itself. Like, it has immense slowdown for like the first 20 or 30 minutes it starts playing a game. So setting it up for a plane ride is just tough if it's like the plane ride's 3 hours long, because it's like, in the first 10 or 20 minutes of the plane ride, you're not allowed to use your laptop or whatever, and then it takes like 30 minutes for the game to actually run as it's supposed to. Okay, so then I actually start playing it, but then like what, 50, 60 minutes have passed, like nearly an hour. So like, I mean, those 3 hours which I'm promised of, like, gaming, most of it's been taken up by bullshit. So the Switch just kind of gets rid of all that. It's much more comfortable to set up. So I bought it for Switch, I played it, very nice, and now we're here. And now I was finally able to beat the Dante Must Die mode of Devil May Cry. I was not able to do that when I had the PS4 version, but now I was able to. I've done it. I no damaged all the boss fights except for the second phase of Mundus, but who cares? Thank you so much for watching, and the worst voice acting in the game is about to show up very soon. It is self-explanatory. I will see you all then.
Devil May Cry's a rockin', don't come a knockin', baby, yeah! The sky is fair. It'll always be above everyone's head, no different.
Like the sky. I feel like my heart is becoming clear.
Let's not forget, though, the Underworld's evil is still alive. They will someday return.
There's no need to worry, right? Because the world has the legendary Dark Knight Dante and his sidekick.